Look, just because
Mhm.
something is outside of your values doesn't make it a bad opportunity in general, but it might make it a bad
Mhm.
opportunity for you. And so when I talk about better decision making, what I'm really saying is just sticking to your values and doing that, and you will be successful. And making a decision out of your values today is success. Whether or not it lands you at your goal today, you still can feel success. You still can feel fulfilled. You still can feel that you are living out a purpose driven life when you function within your values today.
Our guest today is the founder of Wolf and Iron, a company that helps CEOs and established entrepreneurs turn their personal values into thriving cultures and workplaces. He is also the founder of Wolf and Iron Black Label, a company focused on helping musicians, artists, and actors access on-demand and sustained creativity. Welcome to the show, Travis Davenport.
Hey, Mike, how you doing today, man? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing well. I'm super excited to see you again. It's been a minute. I know we've been trying to get this thing done a few different ways. Today is the day that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to know, if they want to know a little bit more about you, they can go to your Instagram, your LinkedIn. I know you're very active on there, and I have that clickable in the show notes. So check out Travis. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, we appreciate you being here. And there's a million other apps that we're on audio as well. And also, this is on YouTube. So if you
Okay.
like a little bit more of a visual podcast and that's your deal, we're over there too. So you can check this whole interview out on all apps and also on YouTube. So let's dive right into it, man.
Yeah, let's
I want
go.
to congratulate you on the new book. I want people to know it's called Wolf and Iron: Why Your Personal Culture Matters in an Impersonal World. So I'm looking forward to getting that copy.
Yeah.
So right after Christmas time into the new year, everyone's looking at their New Year's resolutions. They can start off with Wolf and Iron. Bam.
Right. Boom. Do it.
Get it in the shopping cart.
Right. That's
So give
right.
us the scoop. When I hear Wolf and Iron, I'm like, cool, man. That can be a couple different things. It could be like a pizza joint. It could be, anything, man. It's just cool because I think of like, all the possibilities of the name. But I'd love you to give us the mission, the branding, and
Yeah.
really who you serve.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great question. So for Wolf and Irons, I tend to look at life in this way, right? Um, Wolf pack mentality. I'm really under the assumption or under the belief or philosophy that each one of us needs to belong to a wolf pack. People who are going to inspire us, challenge us, give us pushback, belonging to a larger community. That's really important. But then I also think there's also this iron sharpening iron aspect of life that we need to be involved in. People who are, yes, we have our community, but also people who are a little bit closer than community. Some people will call that family, even if they're not blood, right? Just people you call people family, right? So intentional relationships where they're pushing you, where they're inspiring you and challenging you at a different level than maybe a community level, but also relationships where you're challenging them as well. So wolf, iron, put them together, and it's kind of a mantra for life, man. Wolf and iron.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly what a mastermind group is and should be, right? Iron sharpens
Exactly.
iron. You're in there, but you're in there with your wolf pack. So you
Exactly.
go to battle together. And the other part about it is too, there's, it sounds like it could be this brash saying, wolf, like we're fighters, we're warriors, but there's a big heart side to what you do as well, and
Mhm.
compassion, and you're very much into people, right? So
Mm.
I know, kind of off camera, we were just talking about the difference between old leadership, new leadership, and maybe
Mhm.
even talk about hard skills, soft skills. I think that plays into this whole thing really nicely.
It does so much. My personal, my deep values, and you could even say purpose really is tied into, I want to see true life change happen in people. That's really what I'm living for, to see true life change happen inside of people and in their lives. And so I really come from a value based, authentic value based philosophy. I really want to see people not only define their values, but really live out their authentic values. And there's a process to do that, right? I don't think a lot of people are living intentionally. I think that a lot of people are just living. But to your point with hard skills versus soft skills, I recently heard a talk by Simon Sinek. Man, I love that guy. So good.
Hmm.
And he defined hard skills and no longer soft skills, but I loved what he said. And I'm going to try to add to it a little bit. He said hard skills and not soft skills, but human skills. And so I think when you talk about this the work environment, the C-suite, the executive level, right? Leadership, all the way down to mid-level management or just basic, entrance employee. All respect there. But at every single level, culture is important. Hard skills are important. But I think what we're discovering is that these human skills are equally important. Now, what do I mean by that? I think when we talk about why there's such great attrition inside of workplaces, why people are leaving in droves, it's like I said, it's a national crisis. People can't
Mhm.
get people to stay. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. I think COVID kind of pushed some of that forward a little bit more. But I do think we're in this space now where we are on, and kind of hang with me on this, tell me if this makes sense. I think we are on like this timeline where evolution wise inside of companies, we're seeing an evolution take place with companies who are saying, look, we don't want to have just the commander approach to leadership. Now, what do I mean by that? Classically, you would go to a workspace and you would have a boss, and the boss would tell you what to do, and the boss would tell you what not to do, and you would do what you were told to do based on what the boss said, right? Am I right so far?
Yeah. Yep.
We
Very
now have a
traditional.
yeah, we now have a place, we now have a generation of employees and a generation following up that generation that they don't want a boss to tell them what to do. Now, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but that commander approach, it no longer resonates with them. They don't want a boss
Mhm.
to tell them what to do. They really want a coach to empower them. They want a mentor to listen to them, and they want a leader to inspire them. So they're
I
looking
think it's
for
the difference, Travis, is being pulled up and being lifted up.
man, it's so good. That's so true.
And
And I think
and I think
sometimes we get
those are
scared.
obviously 2 different things because I think, the younger crowd, I mean, they don't need to be wanna pulled out of a situation or drag they feel like they're being dragged somewhere, where if you inspire, you're now empowering and lifting, and I know I'm preaching to you who's delivering on it already, but just to
Yeah.
kinda add my 2 cents, that was the visual I get from the old school to the new school.
Mhm. Big
And it
time.
doesn't mean that the new school is soft and they're babies and they can't handle it and they need to be coddled. It's not even that. It's just culture's different, man. It's saying 50 years ago. I appreciate both. I
Mhm.
could handle both. I think I came from both in an Italian family with my father,
Mhm.
who's a little bit a lot more old school,
Yeah.
and didn't really show that heart, a touchy feely side. But I do believe leaders now. I've worked for many different companies before I became an entrepreneur, and I saw the good, the bad, the ugly, and I always appreciated a manager or leader or someone in the corporate world that would come in and work with us on our level and again, inspire us and uplift us opposed to drag us or
Yeah.
pull us behind them. This is the way we're doing it and you're coming with me kind of thing.
I'm with you.
It's like you see kids behind their parents. They're either with them because they're excited to be with them or they're getting dragged around the world.
Right. Exactly. And I do think, your mentality, which is great. I think it's interesting that you mention, like, because we immediately go there. We start thinking like, it's not that they need to be coddled or softer, but see, that is the mentality when we start talking
Hmm.
about soft skills. And so I think that's important to shift the terminology from soft
Right.
skills to human skills, because here's what we found out. People are leaving in droves because of human skills not being present. So whether or not you feel like somebody feels like it's a soft metric that doesn't make a difference, it's making a difference in our country. It's making a difference across C-suite. It's making a difference in companies. And so here's what we're finding in companies or demographics where people aren't looking for a boss to tell them what to do, but rather they're looking for a coach, they're looking for a mentor, and then looking for a leader. Here's where companies stand to gain from that. And it's an opportunity like we have not seen, at least in my lifetime, because here's what employees are giving or opening up to their employers. They're saying, if you are willing to coach me, if you're willing to mentor me, if you're willing to lead me, what I will do is I will tie my personal mission into the company's mission. Now,
Hmm.
you can't ask for anything more than that as an employer. If I
Right.
have an employee who says, look, this isn't a job, this is my mission, and your mission is tied to my company, man, I
Hmm.
can't ask for that. And I think before what we had was a generation, and all respect to that, right? But the greatest generation, what we call the greatest generation, they went in and they put in their 9 to 5. They went in, they did it because it was their duty. Now we don't have people functioning out of a sense of duty. We have people functioning out of a sense of desire. And that's much different. And
Yeah,
so,
it's like back then they'd say, "What do I have to do?" They'd walk up, show up to the job. What do I have to do? Now
exactly.
it's why am I doing this?
Right. And
Two
what
different
has
questions.
changed? What has changed? Well, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what's changed. Social media has come about, the internet has come about, the world has shrunk incredibly, and
Yes.
the opportunities have become exponential. So now you don't just have to work at the plant that's in your hometown and stay there your whole life. You can literally log on and work remotely in America in a company that functions out of Africa. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? I never really thought of this before. I've done over 200 episodes, as you know. Like,
Congrats,
it's
by the
the
way.
thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it. Literally, I feel like I got the same excitement today as I did November of 2019 when I started 4 years
Yeah.
ago. But like, um, what I'm thinking about what you just said that I haven't really thought about before is that all these options are actually creating are kind of enforcing this change, not enforcing, but are leading to this change, right? And so we have more options, right? Things need to get better. It's kind of like in relationship. Like if you only had one person in your high school that you dated or whatever, you got one option, their way or the highway. It goes both ways.
Right.
But you know, if you maybe went to a larger campus and in college and there's 25,000 people there, you have a little bit more options. You meet different people. You'll find different people you connect with, relate to, and especially in dating, that's just one random example. But with businesses, like you said, you're limited to maybe the big company here. We got UPS. Everybody's doing UPS. We got the Ford stamping plant. Everybody's doing that. We got Geico, big office. You know, it's supposed to have good benefits and this and that. It's a good company. You're kind of forced into these like things when you're 15 years old.
Mhm.
Which way am I going?
Right.
Um, and now it's like you have millions of
Yeah.
options,
So
and you
what
go
gets
find
somebody
the
to
one
stick?
that you want, right?
Yeah.
Not the one that you kind of feel like you're stuck with. And I haven't really thought about that, but as the world gets smaller, it actually gets so much larger with opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, look at you for as an example. You just talked about your podcast. You have made a life out of,
Mhm.
and I mean this with full respect because man, I respect the heck out of what you do. You have made a career and a life, financially and otherwise, right? Out of sitting behind a screen and talking to other people from around the country and the world. That platform did not exist 20 years ago, 30 years ago, at least not in the same way, right? So
Yeah.
there are infinite possibilities, endless opportunities for people to get plugged in. So my question is, what makes somebody stick with your company
Mhm.
instead of them just simply going and doing something else, being an entrepreneur and starting something else? And so what I find is fascinating, the companies that are not just going to focus on the hard skills, because I mean, at the end of the day, we do have a job that we have to
Yeah.
do. You have to have the hard skills. But the companies that say, or the CEOs or the leaders that say, look, we're going to be hard skills, but we're also going to integrate these human skills, not treat them as a soft metric, but we're actually going to integrate them into our understanding of culture. Those companies are going to expand and grow, and they're going to have employees that feel like their purpose is being fulfilled when they're serving their company. The companies that don't, the companies that do not do that, they will stick around for a while because they're behemoths, but they, just like the dinosaurs, they will go
Mhm.
extinct. And
Yeah.
so we can either adopt this, be, the bell curve. You can either be somebody who's an early adopter of this mentality and front load this thing and get on it while the getting's good, or you
Mhm.
can fall behind the times and say, boy, I wish we would have done that. I'm glad I got my golden parachute because, and then it really hurts everybody. But one more thing to
Mhm.
that. This is what's important. When you have an employee or just anyone in general, when somebody looks to you as a person of empowerment, when they look at you as a person who listens to them, when they see you as a person who inspires them, right? They're not looking to you to be perfect. They're looking to you for you to be authentic. If
Mhm.
that's you as a boss and your employees are looking to you at that, what you have gained is influence. And
Mhm.
influence is leadership. Leadership is really nothing more than influence. So the more personal influence you have with people that you are serving as a boss,
Mhm.
man, the more people are going to buy into you, are going to buy into the mission, are going to follow you, the better leader you're going to be.
Right. Really well said. And we talked about previously healthy cultures, and I know that's a
Yeah.
lot of what the book is about too.
Yeah.
Can you give maybe three things that come to mind when you're working with companies, and I know you work with organizations. What's the size that you're usually helping? Is it 50 employees plus? What's the kind of sweet spot when you're going in and helping a company? I'm just curious.
Yeah, great question, right? So I work with brands that have hundreds of franchises, right? And I kind of sync up their franchise culture with the parent brand company culture.
Okay.
But I also work with small businesses. I have some local small businesses that I'm working with where they have 20 to 30 employees.
Okay.
And there's transferable principles between both, right? The one thing for sure, though, is that culture is king. Culture is
So what
king.
are 3 things to go back to the question? I appreciate
Yeah,
you giving us a better world to see, just imagining Travis going into these
yeah,
organizations and really, helping out with building these frameworks the right way from within, the Simon Sinek way. The inner circle is the why opposed to, you know what I mean? That being the
right.
last thing you think about. It all starts from there.
Yeah. So number one, I would say it has to be intentional. Number two, it has to be authentic. And number three, it has to be mission driven. So when we talk about values plus mission, here's what's very important. Your values plus your mission equals your culture. A lot of times people have an unintentional or a non-specific culture. That's a very dangerous place to be because if you have an unintentional culture within your company, that means the person who is the loudest voice is going to drive the culture. That's not necessarily the owner. That could be a disgruntled employee. That could be middle management who has a lot of ideas that aren't getting heard by upper management or C-suite. So they're going to verbalize it and enforce it. They're going to drive the culture. And so culture is really the defining moment or the defining piece on whether people are going to stay or leave your culture, who you attract, who you detract, right? So culture has to be intentional. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
And as an owner, we have to begin understanding that we are our business. You are your business as an owner. So the areas of misalignment inside of your business most often are just areas or reflections of misalignment inside of yourself. And so in order to fix those areas, we go inside and we start discovering those true values and then we pump out this real true mission. And then the marriage between values and mission breathes out an authentic culture. When we have an authentic culture, we see an increase in profitability, we see an increase in job satisfaction, and we see an increase in retention.
I think that's really well said and, clean and clear, concise to understand. But yeah, I'd go back, guys, listening to that again and just make sure that I'm sure that resonated with you. But to pick up on all that, it's super important because I do agree with you
Mm.
when you're saying it's like doing nothing is not actually nothing. Something's happening. You're going backwards.
Yeah.
Typically, you're not actually sitting still. So, a company without leadership, it's not that they don't have leadership. They're being led by all these other things: a loud voice, a squeaky wheel,
Yeah.
problems coming in, putting out fires. That's like the CEO of the company. Then all you are is just a company that's
Yes.
reacting to all the problems going on. And even myself as a leader, I know that sometimes I find myself doing too much of that and not enough with the leadership side of it. And it's like I got to get myself back in position here, like the head coach of a football team. If we're losing by 10, we're losing by 3, or we're losing by 40, you still have to. That's why a lot of times people get mad at like an athlete if they don't show emotion after a bad play. And it's like, I get it because
Mm.
I'm an emotional person too. So I'd probably be screaming and throwing my helmet. But when you see someone who's almost
Yeah.
like a samurai ninja or warrior, like they have to be ready for the next thing. And you don't necessarily want your quarterback
Yeah.
leading your team to be overly emotional because then he's a wreck the second they throw an
Well, and there's a
interception.
reason that quarterbacks are on offense and not defense. A quarterback who's leading the team is meant to lead offensively, not defensively, right? We need to lead
Yeah,
proactively and not just from a place of defense. Now, sometimes we don't have a
yeah,
choice. Reactionary leadership is sometimes necessary, but the better choice is going to be proactive leadership. And so when we can get out ahead of
mhm,
things and we can move from a place as owners, as CEOs, as executive level, when we can get to a place where we're not just busy putting out fires, but rather we are in a place where we're empowering people, inspiring people, properly delegating tasks to people, then the fires that we were putting out don't exist, right? They don't exist, at least not to
right.
the same level, right? So I think we've
Or
got to
there's a system in place. There's a fire. We have
exactly.
the kit. We have the kit in the closet. You know those little fire
Hmm.
blanket kits now that they have. They're super cool.
Yeah.
Put that thing on the fire when it's the size of a frying pan. opposed
Exactly.
to your whole office is on fire.
Yes,
Because you're being
100%.
proactive. You're prepared, you're ready to rock and roll. So those are 3 things for building a proper culture, doing things the right way there. What about 3 essentials for founders? We have a lot of
Ooh,
people interested in making the leap from W-2 to entrepreneurship.
yeah.
Things that they really need to consider before they launch their business. What would you say? Like, you've seen businesses rocking and rolling and really doing well. What do you think some of those building blocks and the legs of that chair look like?
Yeah, number 1, get some stamina. Get ready. Prepare. Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're right. That's
Yeah.
definitely a I don't know if you can get it or you have to have it, but
Yeah.
that's
One of the
that's
2, right? Yeah.
either way, you better show up day 1 with it.
Yeah, I would say get some
Gotta
stamina.
have it.
And under that, I mean, how do you get stamina? How do you prepare, right? Well, I would say you
Yeah.
need to take in information. You need to properly gauge expectations. I think a lot of times people anticipate launching a business and then overnight turning into Apple or Google. Now, not to say that that doesn't happen. There are success stories out there, but the more honest we can be about the potential journey we're going to take as entrepreneurs, the more prepared we can be emotionally to handle it. I mean, let's be honest. In my line of work where I'm consulting with companies, where I'm walking with people, I'm really big on relationship. There's a couple ways to go about getting into business with people. You can go the quick and dirty way, right? Or you can go the relational way.
Right.
Quick and dirty might make you money, right? Really quick, but it doesn't guarantee that
Yeah.
there's going to be money. It's more transactional. Relationships,
There's truth in the easier it is to get something, the easier it is to lose it. Like, if you get everything overnight, you don't know what you're doing with it, you can lose a lot. That's why you see a lot of kids who are maybe entitled financially, and then they get into the real world and they don't know how to create it
right?
or hang on to it.
Right.
Good point.
Right. And so I think stamina is one, but based on what you just said and what we're talking about, I think number 2 is build your relationships. And listen, you can call that networking, you can call that, whatever, but what at the end of the day, it's authentic relationship building. So whereas
Mhm.
quick and dirty might get you a quick buck, relationships, real relationships, and I would even go as far to say as bringing your expertise and adding value into
Yeah.
relationships, that's going to form long-term financial gain for you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But that
Yeah,
takes
because it's
patience.
real, it's genuine.
Yeah.
Um, there's integrity behind it.
Yeah.
There's trust that's built. You can't have trust in 5 minutes. If you do,
No.
you're almost, that's not how it works. Like, you think of a relationship with a spouse, like, that's years of trust, months and
Right.
years of trust built and built and built. Absolutely. I like the way you're looking at it. Now, there's something that's been kind of burning a hole in my brain over here that I want to ask you about, because 5 years ago, my thoughts on it were a lot different. There's this whole mentality of, like, entrepreneurs are crafty, like, they'll jump out of a plane and figure out how to build a parachute on the way down, and that was like a compliment,
Mm.
and I felt that too, like, "Hey, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna figure it out." But why not spend more time learning how to build the parachute before you jump out of the damn plane, is my point.
Mhm.
I didn't really do that. If I could go back, I would have been more of a scholar to what goes into building these roadmaps, culture, different things with sales. Sales was the one thing I was great at, but the business side of how you build it, not just for yourself, but for your team, and how
Right.
you can scale it up.
Right.
All of that knowledge was stuff I needed to learn. So I want you to talk about kind of the difference between just jumping out blindly and hoping you can build that parachute, opposed to being prepared. And I really want your take on it.
Yeah, no, I think that that's great, and I do think there's a lot of excitement and exuberance around the idea of starting something new. We've
Hmm.
really like made that very sexy, and understandably, it's awesome. But there is a wall that you hit, and it's kind of like an inverted bell curve, right? Because we have this idea of I'm going to start small, I'm going to grow, and then I'm going to go. But here's the better entrepreneurial trail: I'm going to start, and then I'm going to tank, and then I'm going to
Right.
have to build back up with network,
Yeah.
relationship, and experience to get to a place where it's sustainable, to where then I
Hmm.
learn and grow. Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, is that making sense?
It is. It's like, and when you come back together, you might be using duct tape and whatever resources you have on a very limited budget,
Yes.
depending on what you started with. Not everybody starts off with a lot of startup capital, right?
Yep.
Not everybody's on Shark Tank. So,
Exactly.
you know,
I,
and so I like what you said there is like, you're going to have to come back, but that is exactly when mentors don't always cost a lot. If you find a mentor who really believes in you, they like what you're doing,
Yeah.
maybe get them involved with the business at some point if you think they're the right partner. But yeah, there's so many different ways you can get it done.
100%. And I think part of the issue, Mike, has to do with this false belief that people hold between time and growth. There's a false expectation that we have bought into, thinking that in X amount of years I'll be accomplishing this, right? There's no substance behind that for most people. They just think that in 5 years from now I'll be in a better place than now. And my question would be like, why do you think that? The only
Yeah.
thing that's going to equate growth from now to then is growth between now and then. So
Mhm.
whether that's an intentional coaching, whether that's experience needed, whether that's knowledge that you need to go and get. Yes, stamina is great, but stamina with no knowledge is going to just lead to failure. And here's what I
Yeah,
would.
not only knowledge too, right? But like the systems.
Yeah,
You know, we talk. Look, football came up a couple times. If you can tell, I'm a huge fan. I
me
think
too.
you are too, right?
Yeah, OH
But
baby,
teams
Buckeyes.
that there you go. All right. Well, I'm a Bills fan, and we got to turn things around as we record this. They're 5-5, and a lot of people think they're dead in the water. But
Yeah,
it's interesting because we've seen them do it just a month ago. They looked like they were on fire, dominating the Dolphins
right.
48-20.
Yeah,
But the thing is, whether it's a football team, a business, an organization, or your personal well-being,
mm,
it's the systems that come first before the goals can be achieved, right?
right.
So a lot of people throw goals all over the place, and I love that you're inspired to go and hit this goal. But just looking at it on the wall on your board, what you said it. What makes you believe 5 years from now you're going to be any different if you don't put in the work?
Yeah,
Well, what this, what works hard? A washing machine. Is it really going anywhere, doing anything, getting anywhere? You don't wanna be a hamster on the wheel just working hard.
right.
That isn't gonna get you there. It's
Exactly.
the systems, like, when you're strategically doing certain things at a high level and you have checks and balances in all those different parts of your organizations,
Mhm.
then you can look back and you see yourself climbing. And look, I'm preaching on things I'm learning. I just
Right.
got back from this awesome Tiki Hut retreat. Shout out to Todd Saylor for the invite, right?
Yeah.
And he taught a whole 3 days on systems before goals,
Mhm.
and it was incredible.
Yeah.
He's gonna be on the show very soon. So talk about some of those core values that you also believe are important to an organization, because I know you had a hell of a conversation with Roger Martin on his show,
Yeah.
Thrive More, shout out. We're blessed to be the producers of his show, but what are some core values that kinda build those systems as well?
Well, I think it's first and foremost getting in touch with what your authentic values are. I don't think
Mhm.
people, for much of my life, I don't think I was running with a lot of intentionality, kind of like your washing machine analogy. I was
Yeah.
just running. And I took what
Mhm.
kind of came to me and I thought, oh, this is what was meant to be. As I ran, I happened to stumble across it. But my question is, wouldn't it be better if we didn't just chart out a goal, but we actually charted out how to get to that goal? What's the best route to get there?
100%. Yeah.
And so what I find is that when we actually define our values, right, that it creates a rubric or a filter, maybe is a better way to say it, a filter of decision
Yeah.
making. When people ask me what I do, right, the best way to say what I do is this: I help people make better decisions. I help people make better
That's it.
decisions. That's it. And that's,
Great.
well, how can you claim that? Because I help people discover what their authentic values are. If we can discover what your
Boom.
authentic values are, we can really truly figure out what is most important to you, how to apply that in a way that derives purpose, which also drives you. But then
Yeah.
also, if you stay inside your rubric of values and make decisions from inside that out, what will happen is that you will feel satisfied. And satisfaction at the end of the day is almost more important than anything else. Personal satisfaction.
We're
People
talking
will
about the employee, why they don't leave, because 'cause they're
exactly,
satisfied, they're fulfilled versus feeling like they're just part of
exactly.
someone else's dream.
I can't tell you how many people I've spoken with who are on paper killing it. They're making more money than anybody. They're buying and selling companies left and right. And yet you sit down and when you really get authentic and have intimate conversations in that way, they'll tell you the best day of my life was the worst day of my life. And I say, what do you mean? Well, the best day of my life when I sold this company for X amount, I've been working towards it for years and I did it. And then I realized it was the worst day. And I said, why? They said, because I didn't feel any different the day before than I did the day that I actually sold the company. I wasn't any more fulfilled.
Uh-huh.
And so fulfillment isn't a dollar amount. although it could be tied to it to a degree. Fulfillment is completely different. Fulfillment comes when you are authentically living out of your values. So if you're an entrepreneur, you know, you use that analogy of the parachute, jumping out of an
Yeah.
airplane and building it on the way down. I do think there is a market for that, and there's an understanding for that for entrepreneurs. There is a bit of I'm learning as I go. I
Yeah.
gotta put this together while I'm falling. But if you
You shouldn't
know,
learn everything though as you go. There's got to be some stuff
there's
first
gotta
before
be
you need to know how to play a football game. There's 4 downs, you get a first down.
exactly.
What is, there's 3 phases game: offense, defense, special teams, what everybody on the offensive line's jobs are. Like if you just go in and say we're going to figure this out, man, you're going to get
Well, think
route.
about
Like
Tom
they're going to
Brady.
crush you.
Think about Tom Brady, who's now retired, right? What made Tom Brady so great as a quarterback? You could argue as many things. But when Tom Brady came into the league, he was a disruptor. He was a different kind of quarterback than really we had seen before. He executed in a different way. But the reason he was able to be a disruptor is because he had respect for the game and he knew the rules. You can't
Yes.
break the rules in your favor
Yeah.
unless you first know the rules and respect the rules. When you know the
Well,
rules,
it's a touchy subject now. We're talking about the Patriots breaking rules. I don't know how that's going to fly. Hello.
well, I'm a Browns fan, so I could care less. But
Yeah,
the point is,
Deflategate, Spygate, how many
yeah, yeah,
gates
yeah,
were
yeah.
there?
You
But
can,
I know what you're saying.
yeah,
Systematically, he knew the rules inside and out, but also systematically, he knew how to play within, and he's trying to coach Josh on this. I wish Josh Allen would listen to him a little bit more, is instead of going for the 17-yard, gun it in there to double coverage,
exactly.
when there's a guy 4 yards breaking free underneath, he can catch it, maybe get 2 or 3. That's 7 on first down. Now you're looking at 2nd and 3,
Mhm.
or a first down if someone makes a spectacular catch, it doesn't get tipped and possibly picked.
Yes,
Like Tom's saying, take 7 instead of guessing at maybe hitting the home run,
exactly,
or that could be 47 yards. And I think entrepreneurs don't want to take 7 right away. They
exactly,
want Google overnight,
exactly.
and you don't win the Super Bowl overnight. You got to build those little system plays, and that's where I do agree. Tom was the best at systematically chipping down the field, taking high percentage stuff, not making mistakes, teaching his players to hang on to the ball, because you know what? His goal was to be on the field as long as possible and score as many points as possible.
Yep.
And even when they weren't scoring points, the fact that they were on the field, the other team wasn't scoring points.
Mm.
So there's advantageous to long, sustained 7 yards at a time is better than 250-yard bombs.
Yeah, exactly. And, this makes me think about music, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. One of the worst things that you can be is an overnight success. And I'll tell you why. If you don't know what it takes to get you there, how in the world can you expect to know what it's going to take to keep you there?
Right.
And so you look at one hit wonders, which we can go forever on. Some dude
Yeah.
in his garage writes a song and it blows up, and then you've never heard from him again. Why?
Closing Time by Semisonic.
Dude.
Everyone knows that at the end of every ball game, but name the second Semisonic song.
Exactly. And I'm not, no disrespect to them, but if you're an
Yeah, I
overnight
know.
success, if you're not an overnight
Yeah.
success, how can you know? So oftentimes one of the worst things that can happen for an entrepreneur is out the gates hit a home run, because now all of a sudden you have this perceived intelligence that's not backed by any substance. The better thing, and here's what's funny about an overnight success: a true overnight success should look like this: work it, it fails, I learn. Work it, it fails, I learn. Work it, I fail, I learn. Work it, it works, and I learn.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
people say you're an overnight success, but the fact is you're not an
Right.
overnight success. You put in years of work and you've gained experience, knowledge, relationships, and now you know how to stay in the game.
You know the band REM? They've
Oh,
had
yeah.
many hits over the years, many records, probably won a ton of Grammys. I don't know for sure, but I
Yeah.
believe they did. Everyone knows them. I said it, you're already smiling. They were on the road, I think, 10 years, a decade before I think they had anything hit the radio.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, they were just grinding it out. Like, there were no names for 10. I mean, I say that, but I'm sure they had built their following to get to that point, but they didn't give up for 10 years. And then not that they even probably were like, if we don't make it on the radio, we're failures. But obviously, that's a huge moment for a band. That's when financial success followed them and they were able to get to more people. And I think as a musician myself, that is magical. People say, oh, you're a sellout. I'm more people are listening to our music and loving it. Like, why would I not want that?
Exactly. Well, look at your situation. Somebody
Yeah.
could say, "Oh, Mike's an overnight success," right? But the fact of the matter is you've been putting in time. And so when
Yeah.
somebody discovers your podcast, when somebody discovers your YouTube channel and they're like, this is awesome and it goes viral, what do you have? Here's what's amazing. You have years of evidence and work. So all the work that you do, sometimes we think all the front loaded work that we're doing is in vain just to get us to where we want to go, but it serves you on the back end too. Because if all of a
Right.
sudden one of your podcasts goes incredibly viral and I go check out the mic, mic'd up and I go look at
Yeah.
now all of a sudden I've got a back catalog of 200 episodes that I can
Right.
watch. And I'm like, this guy's legit. He knows what he's talking about. And I can enjoy all that versus if you have if you have an overnight success and somebody goes to check you out and they're like, oh, this is the only thing they have. Okay. Then
Yeah.
guess what? Just as quickly as it came to you, it's going to go away.
Really true. There's one thing I want to hit on. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to bring this thing home. We'll play Closing Time by Semisonic
Yeah,
in
there
a
you go.
second here. Um, so the way I'm kind of thinking of it, if there's arrows, and there's kind of 4 categories. First, we need to know our why. Then we would build our core values because we base our systems off of the core values of the company, and that's all connected to the why. Then after that, we take action and we kind of check ourselves over and over. Like if we're in the wrong direction, we tweak, we tweak, we tweak. So that's why I'm saying like building the parachute thing. Like you don't have all of that in place. You're just kind of in this last realm of trying to figure it out the whole time.
Yeah.
Would you agree with those as far as the 4 steps?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you call it your why or if it's your purpose, either way you want to
Yeah.
go with that. I think purpose is paramount, right? But I think
Mhm.
the development or the discovery of your values, getting an intentional mission, both those things will lead to an intentional and authentic culture. And I think that is massive. Yeah, I agree.
Anybody who knows me knows that whenever I discover something that I genuinely love, I feel responsible to share that with the world. If it's great for me, if it's a personal experience that I just had a blast with, or it's been amazing, or I'm benefiting from it in any way, I really do feel responsible to share that with my friends, my family, mic'd up universe. It's my responsibility, I feel like, to make sure that I'm not the only one that's benefiting from it. So that's why I want to share something with you. It's not a secret anymore. I'm going to share this with you that I recently have been able to increase my productivity. And that's something personally as a business owner, it's super important to me. We all have 24 hours in a day, right? We try to sleep. I try to sleep 6 to 8 of those. And so during the day, I'm always trying to get the most done that I possibly can in a short window of time. And so what I recently discovered is called Magic Mind. Have you guys seen this stuff yet? Magic Mind Productivity Shot. Here's what I love about it. In this is nootropics, matcha, adaptogens, and vitamins. So those nootropics actually help with focus. Matcha, I love matcha green tea as it is. So this goes perfect with green tea because it has the matcha in it. That helps with energy. And then the adaptogens is less stress, right? You just keep drinking more coffee, which I used to do, just continue to chug coffee all day long. It was giving me more anxiety and adding to my stress levels. So the adaptogens in here help out with lowering the stress. And then it has vitamins in it as well for immunity. So all 4 of those are kind of the secret ingredients, not so secret as I just mentioned, and you get dialed in daily. And here's what's cool about it. I'm actually going to take it right now. You can see it's pretty small. It's literally a shot. And I can tell you, I've been in the deepest flow state that I think I've ever been in as a business owner, especially. I mean, it's been years since I feel like I can sit at my workstation, just lock in on email, on podcasting, on client work, on my team, right? And I just feel it's like I'm big into sports. You guys know I love football. It kind of feels like in the 4th quarter when everyone else is stressed out and trying to, the clock is ticking, we're running out of time, everybody's panicking, right? And that's when like the greats can kind of separate themselves. It's like that starts to feel like it's slowing down for me. So I get to do more things. I can think more clear. And all I'm doing, the only thing that's been different in the last couple of weeks is taking Magic Mind. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Boom. I just love it. First thing in the morning when I start working is take that productivity shot right there. But here's the deal. That flow state, the best way I can describe it, is something where I just feel locked in and a lot longer than usual. Like you might feel that way when you have your first cup of coffee and it wears off really quick. This stuff lasts for me, hours, right? So I don't, and there's no crash for me. I'm just telling you my personal experience with it because I love it, because it's something that I have benefited from personally. I want to pass that along to you. If you're watching this on YouTube, go down into the description. If you're listening to the audio, go into the show notes and you'll see I have it linked right there. You guys can save 20% off. Then type in promo code MIKEDUP20, MIKED up 20, and you'll save 20% off. I want you guys to try it. Let me know what you think. I'm curious. Again, I've been taking this for a couple weeks now, and I just did a full order for their subscription model. You can do that as well, and when you do that, you save even more. All right, let's get back to the show. We're back in action with Travis Davenport. Remember, you can connect with him on LinkedIn, Instagram. Check him out. Wolf and Iron's website is coming soon. He's got a new book that is going to be published end of let's call it early 2024. So like January, February. Check out Travis on LinkedIn and Instagram, and he's going to be letting you know when that book comes out early 2024, so you can align it with your New Year's resolutions as business owners and entrepreneurs. And we appreciate you being with us. Again, if you're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, however you're tuning in, thanks for being here almost to the end. We're about to play closing time. Now, there was a reference. This is a bonus question. We're recording this actually before Thanksgiving and Christmas. So it's November 2023. I'm not sure when this will come out because I have so many lined up and I'm strategic about placement and everything. But this is going to come out probably early, like when your book's coming out.
Great.
So if you're listening to this, guys, and you're not sure if it's out, please check the links because it might be there waiting for you. I made a reference in the first half before the break to a washing machine working hard. And it's almost Christmas time. And if you're listening to this, it's probably past now. But do you know where I pulled that from?
I don't know. I don't think I do.
A Christmas movie?
No, which movie?
No?
No, I don't think I do.
I was trying to get you a bonus.
I was trying, man.
All right.
No.
Christmas Vacation.
Oh, gosh.
Clark Griswold's out on the lawn. He's fiddling around, fighting with the lights, farting around. I think as his dad says, "What's he doing? Your father's out here farting around with the lights."
Yeah.
And he's doing that thing where he's like, he's like whipping the lights around. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work out. And the father's like, or I think his mother says, "I hope you see what a waste of time this was for your dad," or whatever. Oh, gosh. And then I think his wife defends him and goes, "Well, he was working hard. He's out here working hard." And then his dad goes, "Washing machines work hard."
That's good. That's good.
That was
so
the line.
true.
So I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
But that's such a great scene. Like that whole movie, I could replay it in my head without even putting it on.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Such a classic.
Such a funny movie. Such Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie is great, man.
Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
It's interesting
Pull
when
him
you
on
talk
in.
about that working hard. I think one of the things that's taken place that we're really seeing the back end of it has been this idea of work-life balance, right?
Mhm.
A lot of people working hard. Everybody's working for the weekend, that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that we have seen the disruption that mentality, work-life balance, has actually handed to us. And let me kind of explain that, because I believe that I understand where this idea of work-life balance comes from. And I think that for a long time, we've seen that as a benefit, but I think it's actually done a disservice to employees. What I mean by that is this. I think we've discovered there is no such thing truly as work-life balance. What there is just life. There's just life. And what we've done unintentionally, but what we've done when we say work-life balance is that we have created a cognitive dissonance inside of employees. Cognitive dissonance being holding two truths as equally important in our mind. And what that does, two competing truths, it creates a cognitive dissonance where we're not able to really land on either one. What that means is when we're at work, we're still thinking about our life. When we're in our life, we're still thinking about our work, which disrupts the entire work-life balance that we set out to achieve in the beginning. Are you following me?
Yeah.
And so really what we need to do is strive for life balance and the understanding that the weekend, people living for the weekend, rather what we should do is prioritize what I call weekend moments. Every single day, we should have weekend moments. What do I mean by that? A weekend moment is something that you intentionally intentionally do, put boundaries around, and you hold it sacred because it recharges you. And that for
Hmm.
some people could be binge watching Netflix. I don't care. For some people, it
Yeah.
could be meditation. Great. For other people, it's journaling and finding gratitude. Whatever it is, we need to have weekend moments, because if we're putting all of our life into a weekend, man, we're
Yeah.
missing out on what life actually is.
Right.
Missing out
And
on what life
it's
actually is.
putting everything into a compartment, trying to separate it with rigid edges.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of like musicians too, I usually, I haven't been playing out as much as I like to on the drums, but you know, I I remind myself, and I really need to get back to at least 15 minutes a day.
Mm.
Just, you can play through 2, 3 songs, right? Put the cans on, and just it's a good physical exercise. It gets out a lot of energy, and it's something I love to do, man. I
Yeah.
just feel like um, makes me happy, makes me fulfilled. So why not give myself that dopamine hit, that energy of something I enjoy?
Yeah.
And so whatever your thing is, maybe it's 30 minutes of video games a day. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just
Right.
something, if it happens to make you happy for a little while, your brain, your we talked about earlier, fulfillment. You know, we get this one shot, man,
Mm.
and it's like people try to push off any fun stuff until they've made it, until they've, and I've even done this. Like I can't go on a vacation for 2 years because I've really got to get ahead in business. And it's
Right.
like, well, then you're working hard. You're kind of burnt. You're like the washing machine.
Yeah.
After a while, and it's like shit.
Yeah.
You're trying to be the best version of yourself, but if you're not happy, good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think in a way we look, I'm all about goals, I'm all about expectations, but I think there is a disservice that we can do to ourselves when we think
Mm,
that attaining the goal is the victory. That's not true. That clearly attaining a goal is a victory in and of itself. Yes. But I would say the path, the daily journey to getting to where we want to go is equally a victory. And so what does that mean? That means every day I should celebrate that I'm one step closer to my goal. You can't get to your goal unless you take a step towards your goal. In other words, what is a mile but a bunch of steps? You can't just go a
yeah,
mile without taking a step. Celebrate the step. Even if it's one
yeah,
step, you need to celebrate that. When we take time to have these weekend moments equally, when we take time at the end of our day to celebrate the one step that we got closer to our goals, what we're doing is we're enjoying the journey. And enjoying the journey is what life is all about. So many miserable people end their life saying, gosh, I did all this stuff. I worked so hard, I invested, and now I'm retired and I've got only a couple years to enjoy what I've done my whole life. Like I don't want that. I don't like that. No, rather spend your life enjoying your life on the journey. Have the patience, have the intelligence and maturity to look back and sit and say, boys, I know I'm not where I want to be, but I sure am enjoying the journey on the way.
yeah. It's so important, man. It
Yeah.
really is, and you'll be a better person. You'll be happier, and the people around you will be happier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can tell you, I've put myself in this trap of if I'm just working hard and focused, I'll be so fulfilled at the end of it. You got to make sure you're fulfilled throughout it,
Exactly.
because
And I
at the
think that's
end
where
you'll
value,
just be a shell of yourself if you keep going in the wrong
exactly.
direction like that.
And I think
Yeah.
that's why we have to make decisions out of our values, not just out of just out of opportunities.
Tasks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tasks. What
Yeah.
separates a good opportunity from a bad opportunity? Well, oftentimes
Yeah.
it's whether it's functioning within your values. Look, just because
Mm,
something is outside of your values doesn't make it a bad opportunity in general, but it might make it a bad
mhm.
opportunity for you. And so when I talk about better decision making, what I'm really saying is just sticking to your values and doing that, and you will be successful. And making a decision out of your values today is success. Whether or not it lands you at your goal today, you still can feel success. You still can feel fulfilled. You still can feel that you are living out a purpose driven life when you function within your values today.
Mic drop moment right there. He was saving it for the
There
end,
you
but that
go.
is really, really well
Closing
said,
time.
brother.
Closing
Closing
time.
time. Here it comes. The piano's playing. I'm actually going to really put it in. The piano's playing right now.
You
I'm
don't have
getting
to
played
go
off
home,
the
but you can't
stage.
stay here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Is there any last words of wisdom you'd like to deliver before we close this out?
I would just end where we began. I really would, with the hard skills versus the human skills. Look, if you're an entrepreneur
Mhm.
and you're wanting to jump out there and go for it, please do not hear me trying to deter you from doing that. By all means,
Yeah.
our country is built on the back of entrepreneurs. Our country,
Yeah.
the lifeblood of our country is small business owners. Go for it, do it. What I'm saying though is gain the knowledge, experience, get a mentor, get a coach, get a
Mhm.
consultant, get experience, get your wolf pack and get your iron
Yeah.
and get that ready because you're going to need it along the journey. It's going to help you gauge your expectations. And then you're going to be
Mhm.
able to have the stamina to go. Because here's my deal. And I'll say this and I'll quit. The only way that you fail is if you stop. That's it. The only
That's
way
it.
that you truly
Yeah.
fail is if you quit. And that's up to
Right.
you. If you can have enough stamina to stay in the game long enough, then you will succeed. But
Yeah.
but people, because they don't gauge properly what is needed for the journey, they oftentimes end up quitting.
Yeah. And there's so much value in the things you'll learn along the way.
That's it.
So there's the power in getting started teaches you the things along the way, but you gotta pull from all these you're building systems on what other people did well. And that's the thing, like it's 2024 almost now. When this comes out, it probably will be. Do you know how much knowledge there is at our fingertips? I
Infinite.
mean, it's clickable, button here, button there. We're already learning more than 100 years ago that they'd access in their lifetime.
Right.
We just did it in a half hour.
Right.
There's
Exactly.
no there's really no excuse. Like if you give up, it's because you're making an active decision that you don't want to use any of the tools that are
Yeah.
there. Because I mean, I'm not. I know it's hard, man. I've been rock bottom. I'm moving with family and stuff
Yeah.
in the middle of the journey, and 2 years in,
Yeah.
and got myself, rocking and rolling again, and get my head right, and you keep going. But you know, like I said, stamina. That was the thing I had. I wasn't afraid of that. It happened, and
Yeah.
I'm still here today to
Do it for
talk
the
about it
story,
and
man.
doing better.
Do it for the story.
Yeah. Yeah, go back to episode 200 if you wanna hear my whole story because I share it, the whole thing,
Yeah.
full
Our
transparency,
stories make up
but,
our life. You look back and
yeah,
now, Mike, I mean, I know your story. You shared it with me. I've watched that episode. It's fascinating, right? But now what
uh-huh,
was such a discomfort, right? What was such a rock bottom place now serves as a platform you can stand on and teach from and go from. And you can say, look what I went through. Look what I did.
yeah.
And you can do it as well.
You
So
can do it, and here's what I don't want you to do. I don't
yeah,
want you to go through the pain I went through because there's a different avenue for you.
exactly. Do it for the story.
Yeah, yeah. This is an awesome conversation, and here's the thing, talk about, stamina. You guys don't know this, but Travis and I can laugh about it now. We finally made it to the end,
Let's go.
but here's the deal. This is, I think, our 3rd or 4th try. We've had tech issues, personal issues. I think I had maybe COVID or something one of the times I could barely even
Fire
get out of
alarm.
bed that day. And today we had a fire alarm that I edited out. So this episode might be a little shorter than usual because there's a 20-minute fire drill going on
We made it
in
though.
the middle
We
of it.
made
So,
it.
Travis, we made it, brother. I am grateful for you. You know how I end every episode. Be great, be grateful. Closing time. Peace out. Thank you.